Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Tony Talks. I'm your host, Tony Rodriguez, and today we're going to have another interesting conversation with a very good friend of mine. And as you know, this show is Tony Talks Get Up and Grow is about the conversations that I'm having with inspirational leaders, influencers, change makers, people that aren't just doing well in life, but are doing good in the world and making a positive impact and sharing their message across the masses. And you know what? And there's so many of us sharing the messages without selling products or whatever it is. Certainly, if somebody is looking to work with me or Stef or any one of my guests, that's certainly available. But this is really a contribution, giving back to you, putting out the content and information. And remember, my friends, that this is an interactive conversation, not just one with myself and Stef, but with you as well. So type your questions. And while we're here, share this video, because this, my friends, is going to be a great one. So my friend Sifandos is a relationship expert, and also known as a relationship alchemist. He's a speaker, strategist, trainer, and podcaster, and he's just an all-around badass. He's already in the green room. Let me bring him in. Here he is, the one and only Stef Sifandos. What's up, brother?
Hey, brother. How are you? Good to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, doing great, man. Listen, I thank you for wearing that shirt, because I should have worn a jacket had I known. Just saying.
It was fucking hot here, Tony. I've got my jumper here on the floor. I was doing an interview before and I ripped it off. It's so warm in here. It gets hot when we have good conversations. It starts getting exciting and warm.
Yeah, I gotcha. So listen, everyone, like I said, share this with your friends. This is going to be, like I said, one that's really great. Stef is, not only is he a badass at relationships, and again, that relationship alchemist, and he puts out some of the best content. If you haven't followed him, I usually do this at the end, but I'm going to do it now. Follow him on Facebook, follow him on Instagram. He's always got such great content, which, by the way, I don't know where you get all that crazy artwork, but it's awesome. And then he puts up some videos of himself doing stuff like, push-ups with 2 fingers and stuff. And I'm like, wow, I remember when I could never do that. So, but anyway, all around great guy. And, obviously we're just having a little fun here. And that's what this is about, right? This is a conversation. I like to tell people that this is a conversation between me and my guest, and a bunch of people are just eavesdropping and asking conversations. And that's the way I like it. It's, and by the way, completely unscripted. We always have 1 or 2 things we'd like to talk about, and hopefully we get to them. But for the most part, we're just here to have a good time. So, brother, I appreciate having you, and tell us a little bit about you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate being here. Thank you, Tony. We should have really done, based on this dynamic, we really should have done this a lot earlier. Anyway, we're here now, which is good. Can't dwell on the past. Look, I grind my teeth. I get excited about, I get inspired about relationships, particularly intimate relationships, to self and romantic partnerships as well. Because I really believe, and I'm not the first or the last, I'm sure, to think this, but I really believe that these types of relationships provide us an opportunity to expand our own horizons, develop a deeper sense of connection to who we are as people, but also really evolve our global community. I really believe that's a foundation for who we are in the world. And relationships help us grow. They help us heal. They help us get clearer. They help us make connections that we couldn't make on our own. We're relational beings, right? I love human behavior. I love how people are in the world, how they interact, what drives us. I spend a lot of time in the shadow, dealing with inner child wounding and trauma that we've experienced, and how that informs our present states. I'm very inspired by polarity or attraction dynamics, or attraction dynamics or contrast dynamics, which is masculine and feminine energetics, how that plays a role in our sacred sexuality and our connection to self and connection to other people, and what that all means, and how that unpacks in the in the magic that can be a relationship, and the layers, the onion that is a relationship, right? And so that's where I really spend a lot of my focus and my research, and reflecting my own personal experiences, and having gone through the gamut of many different life experiences. Like many of us, I've really chosen to reflect on what's made me, what's caused me pain, what's caused me joy, where have I worn too many masks, where have I been in too much fear, what really lights me up, and spending energy and resources there in that space. And this lights me up, man. These conversations, serving from this place, creating in the world. This is what lights me up, and that's what I'm here to do. I got very clear on that. I always knew that, but I wasn't clear on it. I was murky on it. I doubted myself, and I came from fear. But I got really clear on that a number of years ago when I really had a number of life-changing moments.
I hear you, brother. That's why we resonate with each other, and we're kindred spirits in that way, because same thing happened to me. Everything from life's events to just wanting to come out and serve and help people kind of grow through what they go through, which is why I love your message. And because you've been through a lot of stuff. You've been through the failed relationships. You've been through, the tough childhood. You've been through so many different things. And we're all growing through what we go through, right? That's why the name of the show is Get Up and Grow, right? Because I say it's we all have to grow through what we go through. Otherwise, we keep going through it, which is what most people do, right? Yeah. Most people just get up and go. They don't get up and grow.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. I love that. I love that. I love that saying, man. I love it.
Yeah. I appreciate it, brother. So yeah. So again, that's why you've got so many gems. And I say one of the things that's so true is, people say, wow, but that guy's got, look at his life, or look how he's doing. He's having an impact. They don't realize that that light came because of the darkness that you've experienced, that I've experienced, that many of us have experienced. And that darkness allows you to find your light and really shine it. So thank you for continuing to shine your light and sharing the message, because the message of relationships and effective relationships, both emotionally, physically, it's so important. Then the dynamic between the masculine and feminine energy is so important. So many people take that for granted and don't realize the importance of it in today's society and what some of the impact has been. That's why it's so great. And I wanted to have you on, because right now so many people are being, they have to stay home, right? And they're staying home with their spouse or their significant other, and they haven't spent this much time with them outside of their honeymoon. Actually, much more time, because even when you're on vacation or on your honeymoon, you're out doing things. Now you're kind of like, many people, not everyone, but many people are, in real close quarters. So there's challenges that arise. So that's why it's so important it was poignant to bring you on this week. So again, I can't thank you enough for taking time, because I know you're busy as hell all over the place. So let's talk about relationships. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, where do you want to go with it? So many different avenues and angles we can go into. I mean, we can start with maintaining and actually cultivating and increasing healthy relationships whilst, in times of uncertainty or pressure or difficulty. That can be a good place to start if that feels good for your audience.
Yeah, that one sounds great. I mean, I think a couple of things that I told them that we'd be talking about is the importance of the masculine and feminine polarity, the energy, why we need the masculine man, and this one is great, by the way. I pulled it off of one of your things, is keep your fights clean and your sex dirty. That one was a good one. So if we can incorporate that into the conversation that you're having as well. Listen, we only have 4 hours, so just try to make the most of it.
We'll do our best. We'll see if we can fit it in.
No, I say actually it's 60 minutes, but I tell people that if you're really tight on time, we can make it 59.
We probably need to make it 59. Look, I think now more than ever, we're really being asked to step into a version of ourselves that we probably haven't been before, and conveniently we haven't allowed ourselves to be, because we've been very distracted. We've been very busy, right? We've been distracted with the outside world. We've been distracted with the consumption. We've been distracted with the accolades and the achieving and the what society's telling us to be and do. And now we may have more time. Our routines have changed. We're also addicted to our routines, whether they're healthy or unhealthy, but we get addicted to them because they become familiar, and familiarity is safe, and safety is very important in relationships. In any form of relationship is very important. And so I think now more than ever, we have this opportunity to just reflect and choose what we want our routines to be. Now, I don't want to be naive and think that you and I don't want to be assumptuous about you, Tony, but I'm very privileged. I'm very privileged that I am where I am. I get to have these conversations. I'm not thinking about where my next meal is coming from. I have shelter over my head. I have clothes I can wear. I'm in a loving relationship. I have people that I love and care for, and that's reciprocated. I'm very aware of that. And I've also worked really hard to have that in my life, and I've internally and externally done a lot of deep inner work to be in this place, made choices that were very uncomfortable and came from uncertainty, and experienced uncertainty myself, and made difficult choices during times of uncertainty and challenge, and being on the verge of suicide multiple times. So many of us have been there. My story or that story isn't, I don't think, anything new. And I'm not downplaying my pain or my trauma or my experiences. I'm more relating to other people. We're relational beings, and in that relationality, in that relationship that we find with ourselves, we also find common ground, and we're able to relate to each other. And so I think now is really an opportunity to reevaluate, who do we want to be in relationship? What types of relationship do we really want? Do we want a relationship where we pretend to like each other and that we wear masks and we're not real and vulnerable? Or do we want a relationship where we're honest and we're transparent and we want to put the effort in because we believe in our partners, and we believe in the relationship, we believe in who we are. We believe in who we are because of the relationship, because of the person that we're with, and because of how we show up in relation to, in reference to that dynamic. I think we get to ask these big questions now, and I think you're going to find it's a combination of accelerated divorce rates and separation rates, and a combination of accelerated babies, being born. People connecting intimately and having sex out of boredom and out of numbing, but also people actually becoming more intimate and sharing with each other from a deeper place. I think that combination is going to happen. We're going to find that. And so I think that's really a beautiful place to be right now. And I think we get to play with that. We get to ask those questions and really define the relationships that we want. And if we can define them now under adversity, because a lot of people say, give me a classic example. You want to break up with someone. It's like, okay, when do I find the right time? This has been my experience. Or when do I find the right time? How am I going to break up with this person? This is really challenging. How am I going to do this? Let me think about this. And then, I've got to pick the right time. I'm going to make sure they're not too angry, or they're not too depressed. I don't want to disappoint them. I don't want to let them down, and I don't want this to be awkward, and I want this to drag out. And we're always trying to find the right time. And there's never a fucking right time. There's never a right time to not hurt someone, but experience someone being hurt. Like, it's never a right time. How someone responds to who you are is none of your business, but how you conduct yourself during a process, that is your business. So doing that in a healthy way is very important. But that's a really good example of there's no right time. And so you might be thinking, yeah, but Stef, we're sort of got to go into survival mode now. We've got to knuckle down. We've got to apply for at least 50 jobs a day. We have to do this. We have to do that. We have to make sure the kids are schooled. We have to make sure I'm still getting my work done because I'm working from home now. To make sure there's food. Yeah, okay, great. And if you ignore what is nagging at you, you're going to get more of that discomfort and more of that pain and more of that of what you don't want. And so I really feel that asking some big questions now of ourselves, first and foremost, and of others is really, really important, of those that matter to us, and having genuine, heartfelt, vulnerable, real conversations about what we desire, what we want, what we require, what our no's and yeses are. Now's the time to do it, because if you can do it now in a healthy, communicative way, in a compassionate, endearing way, because endearment and compassion is a feminine energetic, and if you can hold yourself with structure and discipline, verticality, openness, transparency, masculine traits, and if you can do it now during this time of adversity, you're going to cultivate a lot of resilience and strength and insight and foresight, connection to yourself, intuition, healing for who you are. And I believe that's very empowering.
I believe absolutely. Listen, actually, I gotta work my magic with my fingers unless somebody wants to type this in. But having conversations about what you really want and what you really need, that is something that so many people don't do.
Yeah.
Right. And then they wonder why it is that their significant other doesn't know what it is that they want. Then and why they don't feel fulfilled, or why they don't feel satisfied, because and I'll speak this way, men aren't mind readers, right? I mean, I know a lot of women look at men like, well, we're not just hairy women, we're men, we're think differently. And sometimes we need to be told, and sometimes we need to be told more than once. I mean, that's the truth, right? But so many times, people assume that, hey, you should know what I like, or you should know this, or you should know that. But the assumptions are rarely right. Right. So that was a powerful one. I wrote that one down for sure. And you're right on point, man. It's so important. And to your point that you said earlier about the babies and divorce, my wife's a labor delivery nurse, so she's been saying that for 6 weeks. She's like, when this is over, we're gonna have the busiest December and January that we've ever had. And unfortunately, I think you're also right with the divorce attorneys that they're also going to be very busy. Hopefully they won't be as busy as the labor delivery nurses, right? And that's why, that's why I come on here. That's why you come on and share your story, so that we can maybe learn to communicate a little bit better, because communication is such a large part of what it is that we're doing here. And unless you express what you feel and what you want, what your desires are, then there's sometimes there's a little chance of you're getting what you want, right? Yeah. So. Yeah. Spot on. I hope you guys are taking notes. So I always take notes, and I hope you guys are taking notes as well. And like I said before, please share this with your friends, because there's a lot of content here that's going to be shared that you're going to want to share with your friends, and certainly tag them here as well. By the way, ask questions, you guys. I see some of you guys are already making comments here, and I appreciate that, saying hello. So thank you for being here. But do share this and ask questions, because Stef is here to answer some questions and to engage us. The conversation always flows a lot more fun when there's more than there's a bunch of us speaking and sharing ideas. So you just recently been married too. It's been a little over a year for you, right?
It's been about married for about 18 months.
18 months. Well, time flies. I remember seeing the
ceremony was only the main ceremony was 6-7 months ago.
Yeah, very, very cool. Very cool. So he says it will be interesting who gets divorced and who's having another baby. Yeah, one of the things I saw somebody post, because I always try to keep things light, so I'm always looking for humor in everything, right? In social media especially. And somebody said, I'm just checking on you and hoping that you're okay, because I haven't been seeing any pictures of you as a couple, saying how blessed you are and how happy and how great everything is. Hope y'all are okay. And it's a joke, but at the same time, it's true, right? And what I encourage everybody, and I know that you do the same, is take this time to get closer, take this time to get to know each other, take this time to fall in love again, and to do the things that you haven't had time to do that you meant to do, right? So important to do that. So let's see, what is the other question I was going to ask you that now I'm drawing a blank on? Hold on a second. So let's talk a little bit about the masculine and feminine energy, because you talk so much about that on your podcasts and on and by the way, we started talking about how we were going to say how to find you. Let's just give that real quick. What's the name of your podcast, if you can share it with everyone?
I actually don't have a podcast yet. I have a no, but I'm actually working
on so many that I confuse them with being yours.
But all my videos and everything's on YouTube and IGTV. So YouTube, Stefanos Sifandos. But the podcast is coming, man, in the next couple of months for sure. Yeah.
So yeah, just follow this guy. He's got some unbelievable content for sure, without a doubt. And again, you talk a lot about the masculine and feminine energy and how the two need to work together, and how having a strong supportive relationship could do wonders for not only your life but your business, and how the teaming up and partnership and working with each other, right? And that connection. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so masculine and feminine energetics are just a contrast dynamics, okay? And so just think of two sides of the same coin. So there's parts of you, there's parts to you, and there's two core forms of expression. It can be known as masculine, or it can be known as feminine. It can also be known as doing energy, or exclusive energy, or go energy, or active energy. And in the feminine, it can be known as being energy, flow energy, inclusive energy, and more passive energy, right? Active, passive. It doesn't not one is better than the other, and these reside within every single one of us. Generally, we will find that there is a stronger core essence of masculinity in men and a stronger core essence of femininity in women. Not always the case. So it's not bound by gender. Does gender influence and impact masculine feminine dynamics? Yes, it influences, but it's not bound by it in any capacity. Biology influences it, evolutionary theory or evolution influences it, hormonal profiling, there's biology, brain function, the way brains are in men and women, but then culture influences as well, upbringing, values. There are many, many different areas that influence how we express and whether we're expressing in homeostasis or not. So where we want to be, we want to identify what our core masculine, feminine energetic is, which one it is, and then lead with that in life. And when we lead with that in life in a healthy way, the other parts get balanced out and they come to the party as well, because we're in a healthy position, we're in a healthy place of sovereign or self-leadership. And we do that through these energetics. And so when we honor that core essence of who we are, and it's almost like, you could call it's like part of our personality, the core aspects of our personality. When you honor that for who you are, we tend to grow in a more cohesive, connected, endearing, intimate way with ourselves and with others. And so if you're in a relationship and your core essence is feminine, you're going to want to be in a relationship with a human being where their core essence is masculine. There's a complement there. And you balance each other per se. It can be very powerful. If you've got two very strong masculine energies coming together in an intimate relationship, there can be clashing and oppression and control and a battle for dominance almost. And if two very strong feminine energetics come together, there can be this passivity, there's a lack of spark, right? And so we oscillate between masculine and feminine within ourselves, but we have a core energetic. And so understanding what that is can be really useful and helpful. And then moving through that and choosing partners and circumstances and environments and relationships that complement who we are. Doesn't mean that we don't adapt, of course we do, but we don't compromise who we are, right? That complement who we are, compromise. That becomes very empowering for us and the quality of the relationship.
Absolutely. And I think that if you don't honor who you are, and you, I guess I almost want to say, act like something that you're not, you wind up attracting the thing that you don't want, right? And it's funny how, in relationships it's the same way, and it's so important to have the opposite of what, because you're right, negative and feminine, the masculine and feminine isn't negative or positive. In a way it is, because it's the opposites, right? But it's not, one isn't wrong, one isn't right. We both have, I say this all the time, we both have both of them inside of us, because if we didn't, we wouldn't coordinate, we wouldn't match, there's a lot of things that we wouldn't do if you're more one or the other. And you can always tell if when you're looking at a couple that there's too much masculine energy from both sides, it's inevitable that there's going to be clashing. Yeah. You need to have that ebb and flow, that light energy and dark energy, to be able to flow and really balance each other out. That way, otherwise you're going to be arguing all the time, whether it's two feminine forces or two masculine forces. So the yin and yang, I think you're again, that's something that I love to talk about as well. And many times when we have both of them inside of us, we just got to remember when we come home to leave whoever, if you've got to be more masculine at work as a woman, you've got to remember to separate personal life and your business life. Because let's face it, if you're the CEO of a company and you're a woman, you need that your masculine energy is strong with you. Of course, I try to talk to women all the time, and I say that there's more power in that feminine energy than there is in masculine, right?
It's their core essence. Absolutely. There's something really beautiful about that. And it's interesting, right? It's like, if you're in a relationship and I'll come back to that one in a moment because that's important. But if you're in a relationship and you have a very flighty energy, you're very indecisive, you're very loose in your demeanor, you're uncertain. If you also have that mirrored to you by your partner, it's going to be very frustrating. But if your partner is more certain, more definitive, more decisive, more clearer, more grounded, it can balance you out. And that flightiness, that indecisiveness, that spontaneity that you have may actually liven up your partner in a particular way. So there can be a compliment there, right? With respect to a woman being in a masculine energy all day, I have many women that come to me and say, I want to be in a more feminine energy because that feels more true to me, but I also love my service and what I do and my work and for all the reasons, right? So how do I balance that? And it can be tough. And then sometimes people ask, well, does that mean if my man is, because I want a masculine man, because most women, they say, I want a masculine man. Very few women that are healthy within themselves say, oh, I want an effeminate man, or I want a really passive man that just does what I say. That is indecisive. And not that women are indecisive, so nothing to do with that, but a man that is in his shadow. No one really says that. And so then, but then some people say, does that mean my man has to be in his feminine? If I'm coming home being in my feminine? No, he can be, if his core energetic is masculine, he can just run that game all day. It's not tiring for him. He can be in his healthy masculine. He can be in his masculine when he's at home as well, and that still feels good. And when you meet him in your feminine, you're nurturing him and you're giving him what he needs, and then he can do what you need in terms of what your asks and your requests are. And then organically, naturally, he'll be what you want him and need him to be anyway. And so the how behind that is different for everyone. But if you have a space, it's about making a commitment to yourself. So if you have a space, maybe you're driving home, maybe you're in the train, maybe you're in the bus, however you're going home, and you're leaving your very strong masculine energetic life that you've been in for 10 or 12 hours or 8 hours, you can make a decision. You can NLP yourself. You can say, well, as soon as my left hand touches the handle of that door, pushes the button of my car, I'm switching into femininity. I'm gonna put some really nice music on when I'm in the car. I'm just gonna loosen up. I'm not gonna answer any emails. I'm not looking at my phone. There's no more doing for me. There's no more. Sure, maybe you have responsibilities that, shared responsibilities with your partner around children or home duties, whatever it may be, and that's okay. You navigate your way around that, but you're not making major decisions. You're not solving problems. It's not about goal orientation. It's about more being in the moment, being more in your body, feeling, being in the senses. Make that commitment and do things, and put some incense on in the car, put some essential oils on in the car. Again, the nice music, really move into that. Even if your erotic language isn't sensuality, it could be sexuality, or it could be more kinky or something else, whatever, that's okay. But move into the body, move into the senses, and get out of doing mode, get out of active mode, start moving into more passive, where you don't have to overthink, move more into feeling. And that's going to help make the transition so that when you're with your partner, you are in that feminine role. You are in that feminine energetic that you want to be in. But if you don't want to be in it, then just don't be in it. It's simple as that. You will experience what you do based on how you choose to behave. And if you're constantly experiencing tension, then maybe, because we are the common denominators in our lives, we get to look at our lives and go, maybe I need to make some changes.
Yeah, and you know what? The reality of it is, by the way, and I'm going to say it again because I keep saying that there's so much more power in the feminine energy than there is in the masculine energy. I know that whenever my wife, or any woman for that matter, is too masculine for me, I just kind of, what do you do when a masculine woman comes at you? You just, you kind of say, like, okay, I'm here, come on. Or because it's a very different thing. And I just try to have people understand, not make anyone, but have people understand that there's so much more power. Ladies, you can drive us to do just about anything you want us to do, right? I mean, for millennia, wars have been won and fought and lost and everything else over your energy, over that essence. So it's important to recognize that. And again, if not a feminine woman in that way, it's okay, because listen, maybe you live more in your core energy. So that's not making one right or wrong. But I'll say that, at least for me, as a masculine man, and like you, I'm blessed to have a very strong woman in my life who's very feminine, and I'm blessed in many ways, just like you said in the beginning. But it's important to recognize that we do have that polarity. And one of the conversations that I tend to have is, a lot of women want a masculine man, and we just got to be careful. We got to be careful. Everybody just got to be careful, because sometimes in relationships, you get a masculine man, and then you say, oh, we're going to get married, then I'm going to change him. I'm going to change him. And then slowly they do change him. And then what happens? So in your experience, and I want to have you share that. And I have a feeling that you're going to be sharing some of the same sentiments that I have. So I'm going to ask you that if I can, and then we'll go to a few questions, by the way. I saw your questions, Betty and Meredith. We'll come back to you in a minute. But what do you think happens, or what do you see happens more often when a woman says, oh, I'm going to change him? Or for that matter, a man that says, oh, yeah, I'm going to change her. When we get married, this is going to change. Whether maybe she dressed really provocatively, very sexy, very sensual. And then he says, well, no more of that, or vice versa. So what's your opinion on that? What's your thoughts on that?
Shadow feminine in that case is manipulation. Shadow masculine is force. And so when we're in that shadow masculine, we're in that shadow feminine. And are you still there, Tony?
Yeah, I'm here. I just want to give you the screen.
Yeah, sure. Just want to make sure. So when we're in that place, that's not healthy. It's coming from an unhealthy place. It's coming from fear and scarcity, and it's not a sustainable emotional feeling. It's not a sustainable state to be in. And so it will limit us and limit the relationship dynamics. And so when we try to change someone in whatever means that we use, that's really not appreciating who they are. And we're trying to contort others or contort ourselves to create a relationship dynamic that we think is quote unquote perfect, then we're going to suffer at that. We're really going to suffer at that. So the opportunity comes in speaking our truth and presenting our truth, our yeses and our nos, owning our yeses, owning our nos, and just being really mindful of that in a relationship and helping people see that and see who we are. But that's difficult to do because we get scared. We get scared of rejection. We have a fear of abandonment, humiliation, being told we're not good enough, not being met, not being accepted for who we are and the truth that we're speaking. So we wear masks and we think, well, if we can change the other instead of me shifting or changing myself, then I'll feel better about myself. And that's, again, the ego thinking that it's possible to do that because it doesn't want to look at and take responsibility for itself.
Yeah, and I agree with that. One of the things I like to say as well is that, sometimes when that happens, the other person wants, it doesn't matter which side it's on, by the way, says they want to make their spouse or their significant other happy. So they change because, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and change to make them happy, and hopefully they'll change that other part that like them to change. Then they don't change. And before you know it, and this is one of the things I had early on in my relationship. I said, look, I can't change anymore, because if I change anymore, I'm no longer the person you met, right? I'm no longer the person you fell in love with. But a lot of people do that because they try to make their wife into the Stepford wife, or try to make their husband into their perfect model of who they think their model is, based on their parents or based on some TV show or based on whatever fictitious thing there is. So they try to make them into that, and in an effort to make the other person happy, they coalesce and do that to honor the other person. But then things don't change, and they're not happy. Now they're not happy because they've lost themselves, and they've maybe in some cases turned in their masculinity card, their man card, to the wife. They're still one hell of a man outside, and they're a tough guy, and they're business, and they get shit done. But then they go home and they're the feminine man, and they're not happy at home. And the wife is no longer happy because she doesn't have the masculine man anymore. And he's not happy because, hell, I changed for her and I still don't get what I want. But now it's too late. It's hard to turn back the clock. It's not impossible, but it's hard. So then what happens? one starts looking for that masculine energy, the other starts looking for the feminine energy, and then things start to fall apart. I encourage everybody, just stand your ground, be you, own yourself, own who you are, right? And stick with it. Because you're absolutely right. You've got to own your yeses. You've got to own your no's. You've got to own who you are in the relationship. But listen, I said in the beginning, this is a conversation between all of us. So now a couple of questions came in. So Betty asks, how can couples regain the polarity at a time of opportunity like this? Yeah. Because again, we are in this unprecedented time that everybody's got a little bit more time and to be more present.
Yeah, so figure out what your core energetic is. And for example, if you're core energetic of a masculine man, gain confidence in your body. That's a very important starting point. Confidence is a very important trait for any masculine man. So we're talking about polarity, right? Polarity isn't just emotional, it's sexual and it's attraction dynamics, okay? And so when a man moves his body and exercises his body, you don't have to be the strongest person in the world or the fastest or the fittest. It's got nothing to do with that at all. It's got to do with everything that because attraction dynamics or polarity dynamics are really vested in sexuality, biology, procreation, and the unconscious subtle ways that we attract each other for procreation, but also for intimacy and connection and attraction and coupledom, right? And so when you exercise and move your body and you carry that confidence, that woman sees that, but she doesn't just see you training or moving your body. She sees discipline, she sees effort, she sees commitment, she sees self-respect, she sees loyalty to your health, she sees a value set that you value, she sees you being a great protector and provider, but she also sees, because women protect and provide as well, just in different ways, slightly different ways. And she sees this man that he can be all in. And so it represents symbolically, because symbolism is the oldest language of humanity. It represents so much. So that's one way to get into your polarity, right? For the feminine, a big thing that's important for men when it comes to attraction and polarity is that a man being appreciated and respected. And this isn't an ego thing. It really isn't. I mean, I spoke about this earlier. I've spoken about this a lot, but it's about how we create and how we see our value in the world. And part of it is tied up in that. But when we get genuine, not false, of course, but genuine respect and appreciation, but we have to show up to that. It's not, we want to, quote unquote, earn it, or we want to be that man that deserves that. We don't just want the I mean, people do want the accolades for the sake of it, because that's ego satisfaction. But men that are really genuinely invested in their relationship to themselves and to their partners, they want to ensure that they're on the right track. They want to ensure that they're giving their partners what they need. They appreciate the respect and the appreciation and the adoration that they receive. And when they get that nurturing, compassionate, non-judgment from their partners, they feel very drawn to their partners. They feel they can be more vulnerable, more open. They can see them. They can hold deeper space for them. When that woman witnesses and is able to see the consistency in her man, is able to view the stability in his actions, the groundedness that he holds, he's having a tempered state where he's solid in his being, that opens her heart up, that draws her towards her man. She feels that power and she feels safe enough to open her heart, her body, her sexuality. And then a man that is trustworthy won't take advantage of that, but he'll be with that in it's a reciprocated way. And then the dance happens, then the polarity unfolds, right? And these are one way that we can be with each other in the micro moments of every day, right? But it's non-judgment and compassion from the feminine, it's consistency, stability, and confidence from the masculine, and it can go a long way.
I agree with that. Actually, one of the things that I had written down here in the beginning was what men want, and that appreciation and acknowledgement is huge. It's huge. So, and of course, listen, everybody loves that, but that's one of the things that most men that I've come across really like to have that, and just know that they're needed. We need to know that we're needed, right? And we need to know that that you guys need us, even if you don't. even if you think you don't, just make us feel like we do, and that goes a long way. Something else. So Meredith says, sometimes it's hard to remember. This is a good one. Sometimes it's hard to remember that the world needs that feminine energy. So it's worth cultivating and taking time to just transition to the senses and being versus doing. Spot on. Spot on. I love that. Then Betty goes on to say, it's so hard to switch the flip for a swim and to go back to feminine. We have to be very pliable. I think, listen, flexibility is a key to life. You know, it's not, was it Darwin that says it's not the strongest among us that will survive. It's those that are most capable or apt to change, or the ability to change. And I just screwed that up a little bit, but it goes along the line of that. So absolutely. And Dana asks a great question. This one might be targeted towards me, but this is a great question. She says, what threatens you about a masculine woman? And I don't know if you want to address that, or if there's anything to that, but if not, I'll certainly jump in there. Is there something that threatens men about a masculine woman?
I'm personally not threatened by a masculine woman. However, one of the reasons why some people may be threatened by a masculine woman is because it goes against their belief systems, it goes against their conventions or their norms, it goes against their understanding of what a woman should be. So people are compartmentalizing. You know, we do that to keep ourselves safe. Our brain naturally compartmentalizes. In fact, our brain naturally judges. It makes judgments every millisecond of the day. Every microsecond of the day, judging, is this safe? Is this unsafe? Is this good for us, quote unquote, or is this bad for us, quote unquote? So, you know, we're doing that all the time, and depending on how our values are formed, our exposure to certain experiences, our likes, our dislikes, our pain points, our fears, our sense of safety, will be threatened by what's very unfamiliar to us, or what's unknown to us, or what we don't understand. And so that's what may threaten an individual, and it could be another woman as well. Another woman is being threatened by a quote unquote a woman that's in her masculine energetic. Again, there are instances where a woman is in a masculine energetic and it feels really healthy for her, and that's fine. Some would argue that's not natural to be in that. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. And I want to say, though, from my experience, when I'm working with women, I see women flourish a great deal more when they're in their core feminine. That's and that's the feedback I get from women as well. They want to be in their core feminine energetic, more so than their masculine. They understand that doing energy, the accomplishment energy, the goal orientation, the objective, task orientation is very important, and it's part of their lives, and they don't not value that. And ultimately, they want to be more in that feminine energetic when it comes to their interpersonal, their romance, their interpersonal lives, their romantic lives, their intimate lives, and so forth. That's just what I see. But yeah, I mean, it can definitely work. I've seen men that are more in their feminine energetic. It's not a bad thing. It really is personal preference. And again, I would be mindful of saying it's more natural. It's not so much more natural. It's really not that. It's more, I mean, that is an element. I mean, that is an element to it, actually, because biology does play a part. Gender biology, hormones, brain development, it plays a part, but it's really not the whole story. It's a complex conversation, Tony. It's not an easy one. It's not a cut and dry black and white thing. It really is a gray area thing, and you've really got to follow your own truth as a starting point, as a compass, and go from there and really get clear. Is that my truth, or is that something conditioned? Is it coming from fear? And that's really the deep work, and that's a human thing. That's not a male female thing or masculine feminine thing. That's a human thing, and that's really where we have to start.
Yeah, without a doubt. And to answer your question, I'm not, because I think that might have been, because she goes on to say, I'm more in my masculine, you like me. Yes, I'm not saying that I've never said that I don't like women that are more in the masculine energy, and I'm not threatened by them. It's just, when put it this way, I find it's easier for me, if somebody comes, it's about energy, by the way. It's not, if somebody comes at me aggressively, I guess the best way to put it is, the version of me you get depends on the version of you that shows up to me, I guess is probably the best way of putting that. And I will say that very much you attract more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. And I kind of roll with that as well. So if someone comes up to me too aggressively in the masculine, it's less likely that I'm going to respond. I'll respond, but again, the response may or may not. For this, if it's a woman coming to me in a feminine energy asking me to do something, I'll probably react differently than with the feminine energy. And that doesn't mean that the woman is masculine or feminine. It's the energy that comes across. I don't know if that makes any sense, Dana. So I hope I tried to answer that. So Betty, like I said, she said that she finds it hard to switch from and go back to feminine, but she then says that although with the right guy, I melt into feminine and real easy. Absolutely. So it's just about finding the right person that's going to bring out that feminine energy in you. Meredith, so that was hers. Meredith says, also, it's hard for me sometimes to trust that if I keep working on cultivating that feminine energy, a true masculine will come my way. And then #faith. Listen, I think, in my opinion, if you show up in your feminine, you will attract that masculine man. At least that's the way I perceive it, because it's energy. But Stef, Stefanos?
I agree with that, but there's a deeper issue there around exposing one's true self, and potentially Meredith has an association with me being in my feminine energies, me being vulnerable, and me exposing my true self. And maybe there's a pain point around that growing up. Maybe there's a pain point around expressing true self and that being rejected or humiliated, and there's a tension point around that. And so that's more the deep inner work is around that, not so much identifying what the actual energetic is, but more going into, can I express myself truthfully and not be attached to an outcome of what people think about that and how they respond or react.
Love that. Amanda asks, how did you figure out what your core energetic is? Great.
Let's play a game. So I'm going to ask you a question. Amanda, you can answer this, or anyone can answer this, but Tony, I'll just ask you, and then we'll go from there, okay? So I'm going to ask you a this or that question. You just tell me what your preference is, okay? So do you prefer, and it's a preference thing, so what are you most gravitated towards? That's how you answer it. You may like both, but just answer it from, if you had to choose, which one are you more drawn to, okay?
Yeah, by the way, everybody play along.
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Yeah, so Tony, are you more drawn to hard intensity training and exercise, like HIIT training and interval training and boxing and so forth, jiu-jitsu, maybe not jiu-jitsu, but like kickboxing, or just lifting weights and training and going for a long run, or that? Or are you more attracted to yoga and dancing and stretching and light mobility and calisthenics and so forth? What are you more attracted to? What do you resonate with more, the first or the second?
Yeah, well, it's definitely more. In the past, before I had some injuries, I was the Aikido and the Jiu-Jitsu and the that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm more into the physical combat, so to speak.
Right. So your physical expression is more masculine. Okay. Great. So next question. Would you prefer to be sitting in stillness and in silence and maybe meditating on your own into expansion, emptiness, moving into emptiness? Or would you prefer to be in like a group meditation, like a satsang, like a, group singing and spiritual practice with many others, and moving the body and flowing through and almost going into like a trance meditation or divine place through group meditation? Which would you prefer, the first or the second?
Well, I've enjoyed the second. I kind of prefer the first, that alone time.
So your spiritual aspect, expression of self, is more masculine, okay? So would you prefer to internally process your emotions and feelings, or would you prefer to be in a circle or be with someone else or be in a group of people and process emotions and feelings and be vulnerable and share and understand yourself in that way? Or again, would you prefer to be, someone that just journals, gets reflective on themselves, just sits with their own selves when they're processing?
There's a lot of power in two. So I've learned a lot of that through the process that that I'm involved in as well. But I tend to deal with stuff as much internally as possible.
Yeah. So your emotional energetic is more masculine. Okay. So next question. Do you prefer to be more a keen observer and witness of what's happening in your life, or do you like to chat and speak a lot and be in conversation?
I like to be in conversation.
So your
and I like to talk things through and collaborate.
So your mental body is in a more of a feminine energetic.
Sorry, you lagged out a little bit there.
Feminine, your mental body is more in a feminine energetic. So that you still with me?
Okay.
You still with me? You still with me?
Okay.
You there?
Yeah, it's lagging a little bit. I don't know if it's on my or yours.
Okay, it looks like it's on yours, but I'm not sure if that's the case. It could be mine. One moment.
Yeah, I'm still here, but we're lagging a little bit. I don't know if, like I said, if it's on my side or yours. I'm still solid. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So there's an example of, there's many questions you can ask. There's an example of what that may look like and help you identify what your core energetic is. And that's an example. There's many other ways, of course.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So I hope that helped some of you guys with that question. So another one, Betty says she loves boxing and weights at times, but loves to dance even more. So that would be, I guess, more feminine. Is there any quiz we can go to? Is there a quiz that you can guide anyone to?
I'm in the process of creating one. It's not far away.
So stand by, everybody, in the process. Hold on. Let's see. There was a question up here as well. I have tried to Dana says, I've tried to be the makeup wearing sexy clothes and it's fun, but it's just not me. I'd rather pay the bills than cook. Okay. I try to be feminine, just doesn't work. Okay. Whatever works for you, Dana. We love you the way you are. You are a badass. And Steph, if you met Dana, you'd completely understand. She's amazing. Betty says, what can a man do with his woman when he sees she is too much in her masculine? What can a woman do or say to her man when she needs him to be more masculine?
It's a great question. So again, meeting each other with non-judgment is very helpful. Just naturally be more in the opposite of what you want them to be. So, but there's actually a caveat to that, right? That's not in all cases. So if you're a woman and you want your man to be more in his masculine, then just be more in your feminine. Now, if he doesn't rise to the occasion and he doesn't meet you in his healthy masculine, then a conversation or a series of conversations and interventions to some degree need to take place. And what that looks like depends on the circumstance, so I won't go into that. But if you're a man, this is the same thing. If you're a man and you want your woman to be more in her feminine, forcing her and quote unquote out masculinizing her, that's not a word, but out masculining her, that's not a word either, is not going to help. So just be in your healthy masculine. Own your yeses, own your nos, know who you are, and be that man. Again, if the issue is that she's not budging and you really do perceive yourself to be in that healthy state and you're sort of clashing and the polarity, the magnetism's not there, then express to her in vulnerability and truth that this is how this is making me feel. Use I language. Don't make it about her. Don't shame her. Don't blame her. Don't just say, this is what I'm experiencing, and I don't know if this is the type of dynamic I want to be in. What are your feelings? What are your thoughts? So make it a very open thing here, and hold your truth. And if that's your truth, that's your truth. If that's a non-negotiable for you, that's a non-negotiable. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Own it. And it's so important to communicate. And you know what, men, it's okay to share your feelings. Say, hey, this is how I feel. This is how this made me feel. And this is really not what I want. Here's what I need. Right. So, in women, I always encourage women to do the same thing. Tell your man what it is, or tell your significant other, to keep it, open. Tell your significant other what it is that you want. And that goes for both sides. Communication is so key. Amanda asks another question. She actually asked a little while ago. How does the woman recover after a disagreement? What does the man need to move forward with actionable steps?
So,
oh, we lost Stef. Well, hopefully he'll be coming back in. I'll answer that in the meantime. Again, going back to the question, how does a woman recover after a disagreement? What does the man need to move forward with actionable steps? Every situation is different, right? It all depends on what the argument was about and what can be done to rectify it. Because sometimes, what the opinion of one isn't necessarily the opinion of the other. Oh, we got Stef back.
Okay, so how does the woman recover after a disagreement? What does the man need to move forward with actionable steps? I'm not sure I understand the question. How does a woman recover?
Yeah, if you want to reiterate that question a little bit more succinctly, are we here? Can you see me? Okay. I thought I lagged out. How does a woman recover after disagreement? Do you mean how do you recover in the relationship, or what does the man need to do to be able to recover? You just be a little bit more clear on that. While you ask that, let's see if there's another. Reiterate. Let me ask you if there's another question. What about a group call for a women's group to follow up with? Oh, you know what? Hold on a second. It might be my kids. Hold on one sec. Yeah, you there, Stef?
Yeah.
I lagged off. I just told my kids to turn off Wi-Fi, but I think they're off. But I'm lagging. Yeah, lagging. Oh, okay. It's me. It is.
Can't hear you. You there? Hello? Well, let's go ahead and try and answer this question anyway, and we'll wrap up there. So with respect to a disagreement, how both parties really recover from a disagreement is both individuals really need to own their stuff. They need to own their contribution to that disagreement. They need to own where they could have been kinder, more compassionate, more open in their hearts, more open in their minds. They need to take ownership for their behavior. Both parties need to do this. Is very, very important. And so how they move forward is getting clear on why they argued, what the pain was about, the truth of it, and taking ownership of their role, their part, how they want to be next. And so strategy and preemptive strategy is really important. So how do you want to argue? Set containers around this. Set a very clear way of being around this. How do we want to disagree? What does it look like to disagree for us? Set the container around this. And maybe it's having space. Maybe it's having conversation. Maybe it's writing each other a letter. Maybe it's a combination of different things. And when it becomes too heated or emotionally charged, because we can recognize that, hey, I'm coming from a pain point here. I don't want to be that person because I'm being triggered by the past. So I'm going to need some space. You have safe words and safe rooms and safe spaces that you go to. And again, it's very important for the masculine, the core masculine in the dynamic to say, okay, let's meet in 1 hour or 3 hours. And again, you collaborate what that is. You agree together on what that is. And then come back if it's getting too intense. And then in that time, you're really going deep into the feelings of why you're being reactive. What's really painful here for you? Where could you be different? What would love do now? Asking that question. And so a lot of the recovery actually comes from speaking about how you want to do conflict in a healthy way. That would be my guidance there. It looks like I don't think Tony's here. So we've been going for over an hour, so I'm going to end it there. I'm going to say thank you so much for everyone being here. Blessings to you. And yeah, you can obviously follow Tony. You can follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Sifandos, and my website, stefanosifandos.com. Many blessings to you, and speak soon. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. I don't know who's still on here. I don't know exactly what happened, but internet seems to have crashed here. So I apologize for that. I don't know if Stef is going to be able to rejoin us, but I am back on finally here. So I apologize for that. Let me just see if I can get Stef back on. Let's see. So sorry about that. And it was getting good. So let's see where were we? I don't know if he stayed on here at all when this thing dropped, but it may not have. What can a woman do to encourage the man to take actionable steps? Steph, the question for the women's group. I have a group of women interested in doing a group call with you and follow up. Hey, here he is. We got him back. Awesome. I don't know what happened. The funny thing is that the stream was.
Yeah, I responded to that question about the disagreement, so I've gone into that.
Oh, you did? You answered it?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Fantastic. All right. So let's just, and I appreciate you jumping back on. I don't know what happened. We need a repeat of this show, says Betty. Listen, I'd love to have you on because I want to be respectful of your time. It's already 7:10. I'd love to have you back again in a week or two or something like that, just so we can kind of pick up where we left off. Again, I don't know what happened, but Tim said get your kids off of the games, and that may have been part of it. So I do apologize for that. They know to disconnect from everything while I'm on, but they just got the Oculus and they're all excited, and I think that may have been what was happening here. Let's see, Dana, real quick, and we'll just try to wrap this up. Again, out of respect for you, and I apologize for taking so long, but why can't there just be a balance of energy? One is always going to, I think, dominate the other, but what do you think?
Yeah, Dana, whatever works for you, whatever works for you. You've got to do what works for you in your life and attract then based on your actions and your behaviors and your thoughts and your beliefs. And there generally is a balance of energy. And so because there is a connection to our biology, generally there's one that is an energetic that is more, natural, organic, dominant to us because of our conditioning, because of our culture, because of our ideals and beliefs, and a variety of factors that inform and influence that. We will have a more dominant energetic. And the beauty is that the more we go into that dominant energetic that is genuinely ours, the core of ours, not cluttered with culture, what we're told to be in someone else's voice, but genuinely ours. Yeah. We actually get to, and when we act healthily in that, we actually balance out our own. And it's not a 50-50 thing. It will just feel more balanced, and our expression in the world outwardly and inwardly will feel more balanced.
Yeah. I love that. And we'll kind of wrap it up on that one. And again, I agree with you completely. Do what makes you feel happy. You've got to love you first. And if you love you, then you're going to attract the people that are going to love you the way you want to be loved. I say all the time, just show up into the world as who you truly are. Don't be fake. Don't try to be someone you're not, because you're going to attract the people that you don't really want in your life. Those who act fake or pretend to be someone they're not tend to attract that kind of person. But if that's not the kind of person that you are, again, your vibe attracts your tribe. Make sure you're putting out the right vibe, the true vibe. Otherwise, you're going to attract the wrong tribe. So I appreciate, dude, I appreciate you for jumping back on. Somebody says so kind of you to come back on. I completely agree. One of the things that I really wanted to get to and we didn't get to, which is, and we'll hold out in front of the day, which was probably one hell of the catch lines that people were excited about, is how to, keep your fights clean and yet sex dirty. So we'll come back to that. I promise we'll do that one again. So again, okay. So Amanda just put in at Sifandos. So she put that down. I'm going to put that in as well. And by all means, if you put anything in the chat that you want, Sifandos, so that people can find you, your groups. I know we have obviously the group that I'm active in as well, the Conscious Man, which is awesome for all you men who want to jump in there and share and connect with other guys that are going through some of the same stuff. By all means, it's a great group. Hold on a second. Let me just put the website up here. But yeah, so much great information. Stef is just a master at what he does, and I really enjoy listening to your podcast with other people. I enjoy reading your articles. You have put so much great content out there, and I just want to tell you that I appreciate you, and everybody here appreciates you as well. Thanks again. I heard that you wrapped up really well for me, so thank you for that. And again, thanks for coming back on. Just hang on for a minute. I'm going to wrap the show, and then we'll just chat for another minute if you don't mind. So everybody, thank you so much for joining. Apologize for the tech issues that we were having. I promise I will work that out, and that won't happen again. And join us again. We'll be here tomorrow with another fabulous guest. Tomorrow I have my friend Steve Taubman on, who's really great. And we'll do this again with Stef in 10 or 12 days or something like that. We'll set a date, and I'll make sure that everybody knows about it. And again, my friends, remember that life is not about how many times you fall. It's about getting up after every fall. You fall down 7 times, get up 8. And remember that it's in the falling that you learn and in the getting up that you grow. And with every single fall, you have the opportunity to get up and grow. And grow we must. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for going onto my YouTube channel and subscribing. It is new, only about 10 days old. I'd appreciate everyone to go on there and check that out. Appreciate all of you. And I will see you tomorrow for another episode of Tony Talks. Thank you again.